My name is Anamarija Podrebarac. Everybody calls me Amy. I go by Amy. I'm currently doing a practice-based PhD at Central St. Martin's and Creative Computing Institute in London. Well, my journey to get where I am started in Croatia at the Academy of Applied Arts, where I first time started to experiment with digital media art and conceptual art, purely conceptual art. After that, I've decided to pursue a master's degree, and that's how I ended up in London at Central St. Martin's, where I pursued philosophy and contemporary photography. My focus, I would say, my art practice has been a mixture of non-representational theory and artificial intelligence. I work in the domain of creative coding, and I enjoy generating text from my own databases that I'm creating. Currently, my current research in the field in which I'm doing a PhD in is based on sensuality of data. I combine performance art with creative coding. For me, where my research is actually rooted and where my art practice is rooted is that all of the experiences that we have as humans, all of the sensual experiences that start from touching, hugging, smiling, it can actually be transferred through code and data. So when I say sensuality of data, for me, data is a living entity. Not necessarily human entity, definitely non-human entity. However, what I experiment most is, in a way, is finding ways how to convert physical responses from the physical body into data, and how to create new languages and expressions from it. The latest project that I've been developing has included architecture, concept of sustainability that has been really popular these days, and artificial intelligence. I'm more comfortable when using artificial intelligence technology. I'm more comfortable using my own data. And the data set I created for the new images to be generated, it actually came from my own art practice and my own digital photography archive of my hometown that I've been taking photos in the last 10 years. The data set was quite big. It was more than 10,000 photographs. The idea behind the concept is to train the model based on my photography of my hometown, and to develop it, and how would I like it to look in the future. At that moment, it was a particular moment where I started researching on life. How can one life be self-sustainable? Especially in the today world and environment that it's definitely no longer self-sustainable. The whole idea behind it was to develop, I would say, future cities. People think that often when you walk through towns, through cities, there is a lot of physicality about it. There is just how you navigate the space. There is just your presence with the physical body being in the space. However, with the current where we currently are and where we are going in the future, I would say that there is going to be a definite huge shift in how we perceive architecture and how we perceive the living spaces. Everything around us, everything is at the moment constantly being now consumed. We are consuming and generating so much data on a daily basis, and all of that data is being gathered. So when you think about it, is today when you're navigating a city, all of your movements are actually being recorded, and as such, the data of those movements is also recorded and can be redistributed, sold, or used. So I think the idea is for the future cities is actually to be generated by the same data. And the idea behind the project that I developed was to give a sense of this organic environment that we definitely left behind with the modern architecture and modern living, that will soon be replaced by pure data, where we're going to be immersed into the environment of data. I know today there's a lot of hype around artificial intelligence. People are either excited about it or very scared. How I started with working with artificial intelligence, it was actually back in 2016. And it actually started from my photographic practice. I always thought I would just be, a photographer, straightforward, like just a photographer. I'm gonna take portraits for a living, and I'm just gonna have this very comfortable life as a photographer. By nature, I am very curious, so naturally I was more interested in the technology behind photography. But there was the sense that I was never comfortable with analog photography, which is quite interesting, because especially in my family, there's a lot of photographers that only did purely analog. I don't know if it's maybe some sort of rebellion of mine, but I was always much more comfortable with digital photography, because the idea that there is a possibility, that there is a tool, digital camera, a tool that can actually convert light into pure data through sensors, and you see it on your screen. I don't know, to me that is absolutely fascinating. And how I started with AI, it actually started from me slowly unfolding what really is like a digital JPEG, for instance. Because once you place it on your computer, once it becomes a file, a digital file, it is actually in the essence just a bunch of ones and zeros. And the idea that I had, that actually you can do whatever you want with this data, because it's no longer just a printed photograph that you place on the wall. Now it becomes multidimensional, almost multidimensional being itself, that you can unfold, that you can connect with something different. And to me, that is an essence, that was for me the essence of digital art and digital technology, of how much possibility there is within this realm. With artificial intelligence, I came across, that was back in 2015, I came across this script one programmer wrote and published online, that you can use AI to write with you. This was obviously years and years before ChatGPT or anything that we have today. So this is how I started. The idea that I could actually use, once again, to programming, to writing instructions with a computer, to actually generate a text that I can co-write with a machine. Once again, to me, that is the essence of digital art. And started from there. I actually did started with converting data from my photographs into text, then into music, and then just sort of everything that came afterwards just opened up naturally. I must say today is much easier. There are many tools available. I personally use Stable Diffusion, locally trained, local model trained. I think it's very important to be in control of your own data. I think that is crucial. I don't think people talk about it enough, because thinking in terms of like, if you don't really own data or something that you're developing, I don't know. I don't want to talk about the authorship and who's the author here, but there is just something that I find less dignifying regarding not owning your work anymore. What I'm currently doing is I am now in the phase where I am experimenting on how to convert my body, something like something very simple like muscle tensions, pain that we experience on a daily basis, how to convert that data using very simple medical equipment, EMG sensors, for instance, and I am much more fascinated now how to use the sensuality of human body and how to convert that into data in order to create new expressions. It is possible, as I said today, it's so much more simpler to create projects like that. The current technology that I'm using for this project is actually Touch Designer, because it offers not only very fast conversion of data, but actually it offers interactivity. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very complex tool. There's a lot of math involved. There's a lot of programming. However, once you pass that just prejudice that most people have, how art and science are separate. Once you see that actually it's not about separation, but it's about multidisciplinary and being entangled as separate entities that definitely influence one another, then it's the only thing, like everything that you can imagine, it can be done just by understanding how data works. We're currently at London College of Fashion, University of Arts London, at a new shiny campus at Stratford. I've been working at LCF for now. It's going to be 3 years. I started just in time when I started my PhD. It's been an absolutely amazing experience working with students at such university. My role here, I am a specialist technician, which is I'm specialized tutor for in my case digital technologies. I am predominantly working with artificial intelligence and 3D modeling for architecture. A lot of our students. So how everything is developed is actually all of our students needs to come up with their own project that they need to develop for the upcoming year. And my role here is to assist students with technology. They have access to best machines, they have access to the best software they can imagine. So they don't have to worry about tools, which is necessary for the creative process. So what I do is I just guide them. I guide them through the process. I teach them how to use the software and how to reuse it again later for the new projects. It's been an absolute wonderful experience. It just comes from very personally. Education is something that helped me a lot, and there is something really wonderful about giving it back. When I started working with artificial intelligence, data gathering, 3D modeling, I didn't learn it in school. I was curious and I wanted to learn how to use it, so I taught myself by very many different means. So I always tell my students that they should really use what they have here. They should be grateful for having the opportunity to study in a place like this. And just as always, from time to time it gets frustrating. Obviously, not many students, when you're in a fashion school, you're not expecting them to be tech savvy. But this is why I enjoy working here, because it gives me also an opportunity to actually inspire someone and to show them that there is actually nothing scary about technology and that it's just a tool to help them in order to develop their projects further. The software that we currently teach they're definitely currently the best ones in industry. Ever since the virtual productions started and hit off, there's been a lot of need for Unreal Engine software that is being taught here. Students actually have workshops in how to develop their own video games, and especially today with a lot of interactivity with AI that can be integrated into Unreal Engine software. It's actually possible to create a video game where you talk with an AI avatar, which used to be in the past. It used to be reserved only for a very niche and specific industry. Today, you only need an internet access and obviously a strong machine. But I'm saying it became really, really easily accessible. So, not only Unreal Engine, we also teach Touch Designer for data conversion and interactivity, which is very popular these days. Interactive art. The other software that we also teach is Blender for 3D modeling, and Blender is very specifically being used for virtual productions where students can actually create 3D models of themselves, so they can actually, or of the objects that they're making, and they can later be integrated into movies, into videos, or video games. For some reason, these are very popular. It's been, when you work in a place like UL where you don't have to worry about technology, you don't have to worry about tools, you don't have to worry about licenses. Licenses have always been annoying. How are you going to get a license? You definitely get more space and time to just be focused more on your creative workflow. However, there is also the other issue that I've been seeing is that so much noise is being created. Obviously, as with every technology, with every great inventions, there is always this possibility that we might flatten our culture. So what I mean by that is that when you're using all the same tools, and there is a lot of repetition in using them, so there is always a possibility of ending up in a trap where your work just becomes another copy of a copy of a copy, and we do live in a culture of copy. So when I try to imagine the future of this technology, I am not so worried about developing tools. Because these days it's not really no longer about software, but it's actually about processing speed. Computers are becoming faster and faster, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But it's like, how fast do you need it to be? Like, how fast do you need your cart to be if there's a limit on speed? And by this, when I say limit on speed, I think there has definitely been a limit on possibility and creativity of how these tools are being used. So yeah, when I think about the future, I am more worried about the culture that we are all immersed in, this digital culture and environment that we are all immersed in now daily. I am more worried about it becoming flattened and less rich. So I would recommend to look deeply more into what is really personal and important to you, instead of trying to just create another copy of another just digital work. What I've definitely noticed is that this generation, not only of students, but the new generations that are coming in, they're not really a generation that would read. They're a generation that consumes. And when I say consumes, I mean in a way they behave. They almost behave in the same way this artificial intelligence technology does. They consume in order to generate. It used to be, sorry, when I say it used to be, it sounds so like a mold. What I meant to say is, if you take a book and from a field that you're really interested in, for a topic you're really interested and passionate about, there is a whole process that goes when you're reading. There is definitely something very intangible about the language when you're just going through words, because you're basically hallucinating of the ideas that are being placed on the paper, and that is important. That is very important, because language itself is abstract, and it helps us to develop new ideas and to make connections that that necessarily weren't there in the first place. And what I see worry about generative artificial intelligence, that it's been very popular, is that it's no longer it cannot really learn a new thing. It is just recognizing the pattern and reassembling that pattern. It's not an original thought. And this is, on the long run, my worry about when I mentioned about the flattening culture. It's just flattening of concepts and flattening of ideas. I've been thinking a lot regarding all of these issues. Obviously, I am very pro-technology, but there is always a downside when you understand how this technology works, and there is nothing magical about it. There is nothing that can really save us from ourselves. But ironically, it's always been interesting how when I pursued philosophy for the first time, everybody told me that I'm insane. Like, what the hell are you going to do with philosophy? What do people do with a philosophy degree? I never cared. That lately it's been fascinating to see how people are actually really struggling with understanding some really basic concepts, not necessarily just in philosophy, but all the humanistic sciences, where logical deduction and reasoning is very important. And there's been a lot of talk how maybe the future of human thoughts and future, maybe it's not in technology, but actually is in philosophical and conceptual thinking.